Greetings, this is the reflection for Tuesday of Holy Week. How does one prepare for turmoil and upheaval? We're never ready. Loss and change are always a shock to our system. Our capacity to anticipate the worst is not necessarily an asset to us. It often creates anxiety and fear and doesn't always improve our ability to deal with what's coming anyway. What if thinking about the future takes us all the way back to the very, very beginning? What if we have to break down the whole of life so that we can rise up and see what we gain and what we lose by following Christ? The late John Claypool found that the devastation of grief can draw us back to Genesis, back to creation, back to our origins. Why something and not nothing is, of course, a question that's been posed over and over in the ages. Why did God create humankind? After the death of his young daughter, Claypool struggled with his grief. It threatened to undo his faith. He broke it all the way down, went all the way back to Genesis. And in the beginning, he writes, before there was anything except God, this mystery, who is life, has life, that one must have thought, this wonder of aliveness that I am is simply too good to keep to myself. I want others to know the ecstasy of being and of having and of doing. And so God began to create, not to get something for God's self, but to give something of God's self. That's our lives. So just to be is a blessing. Life is a gift. The 21st chapter of Luke is a foretelling of what is to come, not Jesus' death, but more than that. He unleashes a prophecy of a cataclysmic end to life as it has been known. Listen to these verses. When some were speaking about the temple, how it was adorned with beautiful stones and gifts dedicated to God, Jesus said, as for these things that you see, the days will come when not one stone will be left upon another. All will be thrown down. They asked him, Teacher, when will this be, and what will be the sign that is about to take place? He said to them, nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. People will faint from their fear and foreboding of what is coming upon the world, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now when these things begin to take place, stand up, raise your head, because your redemption is drawing near. Preparing for the loss of your Lord would be daunting. Any loss, let alone your Messiah. Incomprehensible. But preparing for apocalypse. What in the world does one do to do that? We are not good at preparing for these kind of things. We know that. If we were, we would have been better prepared for the pandemic that we're currently in. We know this is hard for us. And Jesus, of course, knew that it would be hard for his disciples, overwhelming for them, in fact. So why does he invite them to think on these things at this point in time? They're facing his death, his crucifixion, and that seems to be hard enough, let alone wrapping their minds around the resurrection to come. This seems more like a post-resurrection appearance kind of conversation to have. Maybe Jesus knows that they will get caught up in the details of the crucifixion, his death, his arrest, how he's put to death, and then the empty tomb, that they will be just enveloped by those details, unable to look at a bigger picture, to remember that he said that he had come and that he would return. The end times are always something that are difficult for us to wrap our minds around, let alone discuss. This text invites us to leave the future to God. We're not to pick threads of apocalyptic messages out of the daily news. We are to allow God to do what God does. And that is, of course, the reason that we were created in the first place. God's commitment to love us, to care for us, to nurture us, so that we could do the same. The future, apocalyptic or otherwise, is never to terrorize us. Why something instead of nothing? God chooses to create life and the world. In other words, bottomless generosity is the source of our creation. We were given life as a gift. And life is so very good that God will not allow anything to come in the way of our redemption and restoration. This very holy week is ours to claim through our practice of our faith, prayers and fasting, almsgiving, worship, service. In those same concrete actions, we prepare ourselves to end at the cross and then stand at the empty tomb. But we also prepare ourselves for our daily lives when we do that, whatever is to come. The goodness of life is the very nature of our God, and this is why we're on our way to the cross, to witness again what life is worth to God. And the life which God creates belongs to God, and therefore cannot be killed, cannot be broken forever, and cannot be lost. Thanks be to God. Amen.